Hi everyone, I'm Ava. I'm an American living here in the Netherlands. And around this time of year, the end of November, when people are celebrating Thanksgiving in the US, the Dutch are preparing themselves for an entirely different type of holiday, known as Sinterklaas. And that's what I want to talk to you about today in today's video. So I got acquainted with this holiday first 4 years ago, and I've learned a little bit about the holiday each year. And last year when I moved to the Netherlands, it was like a crash course in Sinterklaas. And I thought today I'll just share a little bit about my experiences with the holiday, how much fun I've had with it, and also just what I've learned about it over the years. Because really, as an American, there is a lot about this holiday that sticks out to me. Now, of course, I am an expat and not an expert in Sinterklaas. I did not grow up in the Netherlands as a child, so if you have something to add, you know where to do it in the comments down below. Moving to the Netherlands has really come with a lot of surprises for me, and one of them was gaining an extra holiday in December. I mean, have I mentioned already how much of a sucker I am for the holiday season? All those commercial ads, they totally work on me. So first, I thought I would start with some of the things that confused me in the beginning, which was, what is the difference between Sinterklaas and Christmas? So Sinterklaas sounds awfully a lot like Santa Claus. And while there are so many similarities between the two holidays and the two main characters featured in these holidays, so Sinterklaas and Santa Claus, there are some differences. But of course, there are a lot of similarities. I mean, both of these guys are dressed in red velvet suits, they sport a beard, and they wear a hat, and they bring presents. So now while there are definitely a bunch of similarities between the two, there are also some differences. Starting with my favorite one, Santa Claus can shake his belly like a bowl full of jelly, whereas Sinterklaas is slimmer than that. He doesn't have too much of a belly to shake like a bowl full of jelly. That has to be one of my favorite rhymes of all times. Anyway, that is difference number one. Difference number two is that Santa lives in the North Pole. Sinterklaas lives in Spain. I guess you could see who got the better deal there. Even after all these years, I feel like the one thing I still cannot get over is how Sinterklaas lives in Spain. Spain. Amazing. So jealous. Just kidding. I love it here. The next difference is that Santa travels by reindeer in a carriage, whereas Sinterklaas travels by steamboat. That is so much more believable than Santa Claus, who has a carriage with flying reindeer. I mean, how are you going to keep convincing kids that they're flying reindeer? Well, I guess the kids don't live in the North Pole, so maybe that's how. So for me, the coolest part just isn't the steamboat by itself, but it's the fact that I think somewhere between the mid of November to the end of November, Sinterklaas actually arrives in the Netherlands via steamboat. Like, his boat actually docks somewhere in the Netherlands, and then all the kids get to go see him, or adults or whoever wants to be there. So people actually greet Sinterklaas when he arrives, and there's this huge crowd. How cool is that? Like, seriously. Whereas when it comes to Santa, there really isn't this, greeting Santa Claus when he arrives in your country. I think it's one of those traditions that I didn't realize existed until a couple of years into me dating my girlfriend. We've been dating for almost 5 years now. So that took a while for me to fully understand. I was like, wait, everyone actually gets to see him arrive? That must be really exciting and fun for kids. And from all the videos that I've watched or these references in movies, it seems to be really fun. I would like to go someday just to, experience it, maybe when I have kids, and maybe when there isn't a pandemic. And it doesn't stop there. You might be wondering, hey, I just said that December 5th is the big Sinterklaas, evening day. But what happens from the time he arrives mid-November or sometime in November to early December? Well, it gets better. I learned last year when I experienced Sinterklaas to a greater degree than it's happening right now, that very many towns, cities, places in general will have their own local Sinterklaas viewing or parade. Not quite sure what it is, but all I know is that very many children and their parents and families gather around to greet Sinterklaas in their town or city. And I know in Utrecht, it was really packed every weekend between when Sinterklaas arrived in the Netherlands to December 5th. It was crazy. I couldn't walk outside without almost trampling a few children who were screaming and running around. So if you are in the Netherlands around this time, end of November, beginning of December, and you are in a place where Sinterklaas happens to be there at that time, you will see lots and lots of children dressed up in costumes. They are dressed up as Sinterklaas's helper, Piet. So that is something definitely to watch out for, because I noticed in Utrecht that I didn't realize Sinterklaas had arrived, and then I walk outside and it's just filled with children all dressed up, and it was definitely really adorable, but I think I could have used a little bit of a heads up because I had no idea that each city or place did their own Sinterklaas thing. So I was really confused about why they were all of these children running around screaming, and my girlfriend wasn't here at the time. She was still in the US. So I had to ask her, her being Dutch and all, it's like, what's going on here? So I was really very surprised, but I also enjoyed seeing everyone so happy and in holiday cheer. It was actually through this experience that I also learned that even though December 5th is the big gift giving, gift exchanging, receiving evening/day, the gift receiving and giving process actually starts from when Sinterklaas lands in the Netherlands. So children actually receive smaller gifts throughout leading up to that main day. That I did not know. So it sounds like Christmas, but with gifts before then. And people wonder why Dutch kids are the happiest in the world. It's like, who wouldn't be if you got presents for all of December? So on various nights leading up to December 5th and the evening of Sinterklaas, what happens is that children take their shoes and they put their shoes near a chimney. So that's similar to Santa Claus who goes down the chimney. Sinterklaas does that too. Or they can put their shoes near the window or modern day heaters. And they do that so that Sinterklaas has access to their shoes. Their shoes, yes, that's right, their shoes, so that Sinterklaas can put small presents in them. The children take their shoes and leave them out for Sinterklaas, and they might also add a carrot or some hay for the horses. You got to feed Sinterklaas's horses. So Sinterklaas travels by steamboat when he wants to come to the Netherlands, but once he's here, he has a horse that flies. Okay, so that's similar to the reindeer. I also shouldn't forget to mention that when kids leave their shoes, they also sing a song for Sinterklaas. So cute. And then the next day, they wake up to a small present in their shoe. So it's usually candy or a small toy of some kind. The candy that is eaten around Sinterklaas time is pretty specific. So that's when you may encounter a pepernoot. Pepernoten are these little cinnamony candies that can sometimes be covered in chocolate. And those are delicious. I love eating them. I consume bags and bags before Sinterklaas because after Sinterklaas, they're not sold anymore. So they are really a treat that goes with the Sinterklaas holidays. Pepernoten are a really big deal around this time. So much so that when my girlfriend lived in the US and I was there with her, we would get these packages from friends and family with pepernoten in them. People who were visiting would bring pepernoten. And indeed, when we would go to the Netherlands, we would sometimes pack pepernoten to bring back with us. That's how important it was. That's how important it continues to be in our lives. Another important treat around this time are the chocolade letters. Traditionally, people receive a chocolate letter that corresponds to the first letter of their name. So as you know, I'm Eva, but did you know that my name starts with the English A, this letter, and not the Dutch A, this letter? And I usually receive an A for Sinterklaas. So these might be some of the treats that you receive around this time that you get from other people or that you might want to buy for yourselves at the Hema and just eat them for fun. That's what I like to do. So Santa around Christmas gives good children presents and bad children coal. Wait till I tell you what Sinterklaas does. Around Sinterklaas, if you have been naughty, then what happens is that you get put in a jute bag by Piet and you are taken to Spain. When I first heard that, I was really confused because I thought to myself, why would children not want to go on a nice holiday to Spain? And then people explained to me that as a kid, it's never nice hearing that you are separated from your family and you have to travel in this bag and you're, taken to Spain away from your friends and family. I guess if you think about it, not even think about it too much, it's way worse than receiving coal because, you just didn't get presents as opposed to you were kidnapped and taken to Spain because you were naughty. That really tells you something about the Dutch. Naughty kids get taken to Spain in a bag. Wow. Intense. That's some intense stuff. Another custom around Sinterklaas is receiving a poem. So many people around Sinterklaas actually write or receive poems. It took me some time before I understood the nature of these poems. And these poems are usually written by Sinterklaas. So if you're writing them for someone else, you need to write them as if you are Sinterklaas, and you might say something in Dutch, of course, typically, that Sinterklaas was sitting and thinking about what to give you for Sinterklaas this year. Something like that. And then the poem continues to talk about how the person was throughout the year, maybe some events that have happened in this person's life, and then apparently you make fun of the person a little bit. Again, I think this is very telling about Dutch culture. It's like, we're gonna say nice things about you, but also give you a little jab here and there. So I have received a couple of poems over the years from my girlfriend and her family. The two of us, me and my girlfriend, have tried to write these poems for other people, but what usually happens is my girlfriend sits down and she writes them, and I just stare at her because these poems are actually really difficult to write. So I'm really impressed with you Dutch folk who can sit there every holiday season and churn out these poems for your friends and family. Well done. It seriously looks way easier than it is. So as I mentioned, much of this happens on December 5th. On December 6th, Sinterklaas goes away, unfortunately. But on December 5th, it is a night for festivities and customs. So one of the things that I've heard happens to Dutch children is that everyone is just sitting at home, celebrating Sinterklaas. And then at some point in the evening, the kids will hear a knock at the door. And then they'll open the door and they'll find a sack of presents left for them. I've heard that sometimes the neighbors can make a deal with each other that they will go over to, the other person's house and knock and leave a present for them, and then you return the favor for your neighbor a little later. That's really clever. I like that. I have to say that last year, I was actually looking forward to this year when I hope to be able to celebrate Sinterklaas with my Dutch girlfriend in the Netherlands. This would have been the first time the two of us would have been in the Netherlands together on December 5th. But unfortunately, we know that things didn't quite turn out in 2020 as we hoped for them to. I hope that next year when I'm making this video, I can talk about more of my experiences that I would have had with Sinterklaas. I feel like I've had bits of experiences here and there. When I had my Dutch class in the US, we did celebrate Sinterklaas together. And last year, actually, I took the train with Sinterklaas. That was the highlight of my morning. And the train conductor just shouted through the speakers, "Dankjewel, Sinterklaasje." It was so cute. And, he was like, "Thank you, Sinterklaas, for coming on our train." And there were kids everywhere. I saw them as I passed through these villages that I used to pass on my way to my previous job. So that was, of course, exciting on its own. But I do hope that in 2021, I will get the full Sinterklaas experience. And then I will be able to tell you all about it. Until then, thank you all for watching, and if you are someone who watches my videos and you haven't subscribed yet, if you could hit that button, that would be fantastic. It will be a great Sinterklaas present for me.